The rise of nationalist movements in the early 19th century that helped to fuel imperialist expansion also led to the establishment of new states and the decline of others. Like Meiji Japan and the United States, Russia continued its attempts to extend its influence over neighboring territories in the vast regions of Eastern Europe and Asia. The Russo-Turkish Wars, one of the largest conflicts in world history, continued sporadically throughout the 19th century as Russia fought with the Ottoman Empire in an ongoing attempt to dominate territories in the Balkans, the Crimea, and the Caucasus. After the Russo-Turkish War of 1877 through 1878, Bulgaria emerged as an independent state after 500 years of domination by the Ottoman Turks. Montenegro, Serbia, and Romania also gained independence, inspiring feelings of nationalism in the various Slavic peoples throughout the region. Serbia in particular was at the center of nationalist aspirations, as the Serbs who led the Pan-Slavic movement, whose goal was to unite the Slavic peoples who were under the control of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Polish, Czech, Croatian, and Slovakian people struggled to form their own independent states in a series of rebellions. Russia strongly supported the Pan-Slavic movement, not because it supported nationalism of these neighboring regions, but because it hoped to eventually annex them into the Russian Empire. Another result of the 1877 through 1878 war was that Russia gained southern Bessarabia and part of Armenia. The Austro-Hungarian Empire acquired Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the Ottoman Empire continued to weaken. So let's talk about some results of Western imperialism. Western colonization of Africa and Asia brought mixed results. In India, the availability of Western education created a new middle class of educated professionals, opening new job opportunities for native peoples. These professionals, however, were usually paid less than Europeans who were performing similar tasks in government or industry. Western ideas also provided a common foundation for those who were colonized. Europeans peacefully divided Africa among themselves at the Berlin Conference in 1885, like we've discussed before, but they paid little attention to the concerns of the African people who were affected. Europe's confidence in its racial and cultural superiority did not leave much room for debate about the potential disadvantages of imperialism, and social Darwinism, the idea that civilizations with superior technology and tactics deserved to conquer those areas without advantages, was a powerful force during this era. At Berlin, the British attempted to form a series of colonies that stretched from Cape Town to Cairo, that is, from South Africa to Egypt, and they were stymied by Germany, who inserted a colony in East Africa. The best-known imperialist in the era was Cecil Rhodes, the British entrepreneur whose business was in the gold and diamond mines in South Africa, and the colony of Rhodesia is actually named after him. Europeans created white dominions and settler colonies. The white dominions were places where the colonists, through disease and conquest, eventually outnumbered the native people. And this occurred in Oceania, like Australia, New Zealand, and North America. The settler colonies were areas where Europeans settled and ruled but remained a minority. Social efforts by imperialists had mixed results. Christian missionaries had success spreading their faith in sub-Saharan Africa, but they made no progress in the Muslim North. And they were determined to civilize their little brown brothers, and I say that with, again, quotations, by dressing them in Western fashions and teaching them Western behavior, which usually only confused the local people. Some African elites were sent to European schools in an attempt to bring them over to pro-Western thinking, and these efforts often had an unintended consequence for the colonizers. Popular European literature with imperialist themes set in Africa included Tarzan, the story of an English boy raised by apes in the African jungle, and The Heart of Darkness, which is a novel that criticized imperialist attitudes towards Africans. Europeans had much more contact with Asia before their new imperialism of this era, so the impact of their efforts was minimized in most areas. They used a variety of methods to obtain indirect and direct control in Asia, like they made treaties with local rulers, or they used a combination of military force and diplomacy. Once the English had established themselves in India, it primarily used the native Indian forces to maintain British authority, and these sepoys were generally loyal to the crown, and they exported cotton and tea from its Indian colonies. The most famous example of European imperialism in Asia was the Opium Wars with China in the mid-19th century. European attempts to bring Christianity to Asia in this era met with fewer converts than in Africa. However, in China, as many 10,000 people joined in the Christian faith, and in popular European culture, books aimed at younger people highlighted these exotic lands and were especially nationalistic, praising the Europeans' dedication to the white man's burden. The Jungle Book was about a young Indian boy's adventures in South Asia, is one famous title.